about making this be the documentary of the hotlou life is to call it Waiting for Zuck, because it seems like that's my life.
He's coming.
Yeah.
I feel it.
Yeah, he could just hop in at any moment. And now as I try to start my watch party, Zuck has made it harder. He knows exactly what he's doing.
He knows what the people want, and he doesn't want to give the people what they want.
Man, that is the truth. Well, I mean, before we get into like major truther segments here, maybe we ought to try to start the show, and I'm trying to tag you, but now I'm reminded that you don't have Facebook.
Yeah, sorry, Zuck. I deleted it, but you can find me on Instagram, 2 Klanes.
All right, dope. So with that, I'm just going to try to screw up the start of the show. So please hold.
Are we still live?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, we're just going.
Yeah. Can you hear you can hear the music, right?
No.
Of course not. Oh,
but I heard it before we started.
Yeah, that's the second time like this week that happened. So anyway, welcome to Hot Lou Happy Hour. I'm your host, Lou Abramowski, or somewhat ultimately known as Hot Lou, and I'm joined with an amazing guest here. His name's Josh Klane. He's an accomplished ultimate Frisbee player. We'll talk about maybe his Goaltimate accomplishments in another part of the interview.
I would have put that first, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, one of the most famous Goaltimate players of all time, pro Goaltimate players. Yeah. But also it's worth noting that over your career, you played high school for Hopkins Ultimate. I think your entire
for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Coach
we'll
Lou.
Maybe get into that. You've played your entire club career, as I understand it, for Sub-Zero, the elite men's club team out of Minneapolis. And then maybe what you're most, famous for is your big ass hucks, right?
Oh yeah. I like to throw deep. I really don't. I like to look off those short throws. I'm looking past the 10-yard, 10-yard period. Even if you're wide open, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, you got a lot of. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen you look off Bevon plenty of times on his undercuts.
He knows, though. He knows.
It took a while to learn.
Yeah.
Well, I should also mention that you also won a world championship in 2010, and then 3 years later in 2013 for Team USA. For first was the U19 team, and then the second one was U23. Is that right?
Yes, indeed.
Awesome. Well, I don't know where to start. But it seems like what everybody is kind of bummed about is level of fitness and trying to get ready for Ultimate. So maybe a good place to start would be to drink our health energy drinks. Well, cheers. I'm drinking a Surly.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is a staple part of a Milwaukeean diet. So
yeah. And had I had a Miller Lite, I might be drinking that too, because as we remarked before the show, these heavy IPAs are more and more of a challenge for me.
We're getting too old. We're just 28-year-olds that are just getting too old,
Oh, are we peers now?
Yeah, look at us. We're matching.
I know.
You're 29, right? 29?
Yeah.
Going on 30?
No, yeah. 13 29-year-old birthdays in a row. I'm pretty proud of myself. Well, let's talk about what you're doing to stay healthy and, I don't know, prepare for next season. I know you've talked about it on a handful of other shows, but what are you doing? Yeah, doing anything?
Really good question. Well, I'm just right now. I'm at a point where I'm in nursing school. It's really stressful. It's just been a lot of mental work, and I have definitely taken a step back from training for elite Frisbee, but I need to be able to continue to drink beer and eat semi what I want. So I don't want to get fat. So I've been really taking up long distance running. So I've been running like anywhere from 4 to 6 miles. I try to do it like 4 or 5 days a week. And it's been a good way to just kind of stay lean and get a good workout in, and like I can feel good for the rest of the day. But as far as training, I'm a long ways away from being ready to hit the field.
Yeah.
I also have
I
a
feel
little
you.
shoulder issue. So
Oh, yeah, I heard about this. You were on with Lep and you talked about you had some injury with Ben Yacht on a vacation or something, right?
yeah, Ben Yacht, he's future doctor. He's he just completely reduced my shoulder. It was dislocated. Used his magic fingers, his MVP prowess, and got it back in. He's a medical scribe, so he's seen it done many times, and I could not afford to go back to the ER. So it was
I feel the
perfect.
same way. I feel the same way about doing electrical work in my house. I'm like, I watched 3 YouTube videos. I can
Yeah,
handle this.
yeah, and it worked, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I dislocated it at Club Nationals last year. Um, if you actually go to my Instagram, you can see the video of it in slow mo. Shout out
Oh,
Charles
wow.
Cleary, who videotapes us and has great footage.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and so then that healed, and rehabbed it, and I knew I had a good, a good chance of it redislocating again. But it felt really good. And then about a month ago, I was taking a break from studying, and I have a pull-up bar on my door, and I did the head in front
Oh, wow.
pull-ups that like
Yeah.
put more pressure on, but I wasn't
Yeah.
thinking about my shoulder. Like it was
Right.
fine. It felt good. And I start to come down, and I thought the wood on, how it connects to the wood on the top. I thought
Yeah.
that was coming down and breaking. I was like, shit. Oh
Yeah.
God. Like I'm gonna, what, like, I don't know what's going on. Then I realized it's my shoulder popping out twice, fully up.
Wow.
And so then I was in excruciating pain, worse than the first time. I was like going around, this was late, like 10:30 at night. And I was like just going around my apartment trying to find somebody to help
Yeah.
me. I'm not really good friends with anyone in my apartment, but
Yeah.
there is this couple that I'm friendly with, found them, or they happened to be walking across, helped me out, drove me to the ER, went to the ER, got it back in. So that happened. It was fine. And then I went on a trip to the Black Hills with Yacht and Ryan Osgar and some other guys. And we were jumping off this 50-foot cliff, and we did it a few times. Um,
Wow.
and it was awesome. And then, of course, last time of the day, right, we wanted to get one more in before the evening, and I forgot to get my arms to my side, like to my
Yeah.
body,
Yep.
and just boom, I go in. I'm like, oh God, oh no, and it was partially dislocated this time in a different little spot. It felt a little different, but thank goodness I had Dr. Yacht there, and we tried a few different things, with the little knowledge we have of reducing shoulder dislocations, and it just was ready to pop back in. There was a nurse. There was two nurses camping right next to us. So one actually had ace bandages that she helped wrap it up, and
Wow.
that's where I'm at right now.
So, yeah, what's it feel like to hit the wall? I have never like done any sort of cliff diving or anything like that, even though I grew up in a town where it was like really popular. Is it like everybody talks about like you get up to like that 50 feet range and it feels like you're hitting concrete? Was that what it
Yeah,
was like?
it was really interesting. It's this really awesome lake, Horse Thief Lake. And so it's
Okay.
known, we went specifically there because we knew that, like, we were told that there's some good cliff jumping. And it's kind of it's terrifying because you have to like kind of climb down to the spot where you're jumping. And the main spot where everyone jumps is like 35 feet. And it's terrifying. And from the bottom, you look up and you're like, it's not that big. But obviously when you're up there, even like 15, 20 feet, it's tall. It is very scary. And so we were originally jumping from the 35-foot one. That was not bad. Like, we went in the water, like you want to go straight in like a pencil. Obviously you don't want like your arms out,
Right.
risk shoulder dislocation. But did not hurt at all. And then there was this top portion that like you have to jump over the part that the lower portion, which has a ledge on it. So like you have to like you're jumping from a tiny little like portion of rock, which is terrifying. Like my leg, like when you're getting ready to go and there's like a bunch of people watching from the bottom too, that you're like, all right, I gotta fucking do this. Like,
yeah, totally.
I can't back out. My leg is just like, both Yacht and I did it, and Bumstead and Sam Bumstead, and your leg is just shaking. It's just like uncontrollably shaking. Your body's telling you like, do not do this. You're thinking about getting over this ledge, which in reality you can, like, as if you're just somewhat athletic, you can jump out and clear it pretty easily. Mm-hmm. But like in your mind, it's 15 feet below you, and you're like, okay, this is 50 feet down to the water. You have to get over this ledge. You have to make sure you don't slip off the actual jumping point, which is a small little rock. And then you are also thinking like, oh shit, like I gotta get my arms in. I got everything. So naturally, you're thinking about all these things, and I forgot to get my arms in at the end. And so the first 2 times I did the tall one, I actually like kind of went forward a little bit. Like it wasn't bad. Like I went in like, also on Instagram, you can see the video of me doing it. That was not the shoulder dislocation one, but I go in a little forward, and I definitely I got my head kind of got rattled a little bit, and it was like just that 15 feet was a big difference of pain level. Like 35 foot, nothing. That 50 foot range, it was like my chest was bruised, my arms were bruised, I had like a headache those 2 times. But the big reason I did the top one that 3rd time was there was we did see a few like little kids doing it, which was awesome, but it's like I can't believe they were doing it. And this girl, this little like 10, 12-year-old girl was on the lower one, and she wasn't going to do it. And her family's down at the bottom, like telling her to do it. And I was like, okay, you do, if I do this top one, you have to do this. So, it was worth it. It was worth it. She did it. So, I like to think that I helped her out a little bit, and I don't think anybody really saw that I dislocated it. And like, I went to the other side, and then my other friend Cheetah was like on the other side, on the shore, and said, are you okay? Cause I had like a concerned look on my face. I was like, nope, I just dislocated my shoulder, just partially, but
you were able to swim off to the shore and everything, and you're okay. Well,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Wow, I hope my mom isn't watching this right now. I did tell her about it, but I hadn't told her about this one. She knew about the earlier dislocation. She didn't know about this one.
Should we?
Oh yeah, pull up. Yeah, this is where it all began.
Yeah, let's.
Oh, and look, Mimi Klane. Mimi Klane. Ouch. She even comments.
Yeah.
Follow her. Give her a follow.
She knew this one. Yeah, follow Mimi Klane on Instagram as as 2 Klanes.
Let's see how many followers we can get her.
Yeah, where are you at, Ultimate Community? Let's blow up Mimi Klane's Instagram right now.
She doesn't have many posts, but you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. You said it's in slow motion on the second time around.
Yeah, the first one you can hear a pop in the first one. I don't know what he does. I think he like kind of isolates the sound.
Well, Charles knows what he's doing for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can hear that little crack.
I heard it. Yeah.
Oh, that was such a big game too. That was.
It was amazing. Yeah.
I was really upset. It's funny. So the guy that's catching this is Chris Kocher, a friend of mine who I played on. He's one of the best players in the world.
For sure.
I played on the World's teams with him.
The U23 team, right?
Yeah, and I knew he had dislocated his shoulder many times, and I was calling a bunch of people when I did it in my apartment. I was calling like Charlie Resnikoff. I was calling Matt Crum. I was calling Dan Miller, like 3 people, former teammates, Sub-Zero teammates who are doctors or athletic trainers. Or like, how do I get this in by myself? Nobody would answer. So then I ended up actually calling Chris because I knew he had some knowledge. And then he got a hold of Yacht because I went to the ER, and it was this whole thing. It's like, dude, is Josh okay? Like,
oh man, yeah, you sent a bunch of people into panic.
Yeah, so turned out to be okay. But yeah, it's funny that I ended up actually the guy, it wasn't his fault that he.
Yeah.
But.
Well, so have you been throwing with how it's feeling right now?
I was throwing before this latest one.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just like throwing on the camping trip, and that was like a week after the second dislocation, and it was feeling fine. But now I haven't been throwing much, and
Yeah.
I get an MRI on Monday, and then follow up the next Monday, and so we'll see. From what I hear, it's surgery, especially on the throwing shoulder. Surgery is probably likely, but hopefully I hit my deductible, and it
Or
won't be bad.
Maybe you rush through nursing school, get that extra insurance.
I don't know. I mean, we're going to be having clinicals this fall, so I'm going to need my shoulder. So I have to figure everything out. I have not thought this through yet, but I'm going to get the MRI first and see what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I know what it's like actually. And, in some ways, I can sympathize with you, like from last year at nationals, because at the Surly Invite in 2014, I was, that's in like June usually, and Worlds was at the beginning of August. And on game point, I was actually picking up with Surly, even though I was playing with a different team at Worlds. Kind of made a diving pancake catch while the defense landed right on top of me and partially dislocated my shoulder. And, there was nothing going to keep me off the fields at the World Championships, and just like push through it. So
throwing shoulder?
It was throwing shoulder too. It just burned. It was just on fire especially the forehand. I don't know if you're like experiencing that right now.
The backhand was easy to recover to. I mean, I still, up until that second dislocation, I couldn't throw really many hammers without it hurting. Like, I just accepted the fact that I'm just going to throw a lot of scoobers now instead, because just the across, that snap, especially because most shoulder dislocations are interior. So, it's all those ligaments right on the front, and just that flick I was definitely worried about. But that's if anybody can do it, it's you. You're made of metal,
I've been very lucky. I mean, I think I've played through a lot of injuries, and I've only missed one ultimate tournament in 22 years. Thanks,
and
man.
If people don't know about your birthday deadlifts, you better check hotlou.com.
I've got a full episode of the Hot Lou Show podcast about it and why I do it. And I have to start training. My birthday's December 17th, and I'm starting this week because I have to lift 420 pounds. Despite being 29, I'm adding the bonus to it for this year. But no, it's 10 times my age on my birthday. I lift every year. And because I haven't been maintaining during this, whole nonsense. I shouldn't call it nonsense, but
if you don't get it, I think it's okay. I think the world will be fine. Just they'll understand because of the quarantine and everything.
But I only have so many years left that I could do this. Do you have any advice on what I should do after I reach my maximum?
Good question. Just forget it, just
move on to the next stage of life.
Find something else. Start slacklining, find a new hobby.
Yeah, we got Tom Rosengren in the chat here asking if I really mean 420-pound deadlift. And I did a 410-pound deadlift on my 41st birthday, and I'll do 420.
The thing is, you don't want to, pop a disc one of these years.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of people are really encouraging me to start using a back brace, but I think it in some ways defeats the purpose. And I think I'm still a ways away from my limit. And I'm very, very careful. Like this year, I'm going to train for 4 months.
That's true.
Straight. So, and I think deadlifting, the reason I've told you this personally, I think deadlifts, and I think we agree on this, are the single best exercise you can do for improving your life, the quality of your life. I can't think of anything better than that. And then I'll add that I don't know if there's a single exercise for ultimate that's better, because you're working on grip strength, entire posterior chain, and huge on your core.
Hip explosion.
And the risk for injury related compared to many other weighted exercises is really small, because you can just drop the bar.
Yep.
If you're doing back squats and you don't know how to get out of the weight, if you get into it too much, or you don't have a spotter, like the risk of injury and the magnitude of that injury is really huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, back squats in general too. Like, I think like everybody's, all the people that I, work out with or get my ultimate specific workout knowledge from, whether it's, Goose Helton or Nick Simonelli or, whatever it is, like, there's not much. I think there's research that's getting away from that. The back squat, the front squats are great. But deadlifts are great. It took me a long time. Like, I had back injuries, so I was scared to do them for a while. And then, once you, and there's so many variations too, that I love, the sumo.
And there's actually a fair amount of evidence too that it's really just the last like 25% of the range of motion that you're getting the athletic performance out of. So a handful of people work out and they'll position the bar, just like 12 inches below where their hands rest when they're standing upright, and they just lift the last 25% like that. And they claim that that'll get the value out of it. I haven't done that because I want the full everything with the core and all that other stuff too. But how is your back doing these days?
It's good. It's pretty solid. It's been I've been the long distance running is and not really lifting at all has definitely taken a toll. But I found, if anybody out there who's watching, I don't know, is there 10 people watching? Is there 5? I don't know. If any of you, how many people are watching right now?
Right now 15, but it's bumped up between 15 and 50 pretty much continuously.
Okay.
Yeah.
So out of the 15 and 50, if anybody's watching has back pain, get the foundation training book. It's Dr. Eric Goodman, chiropractor. It saved my ultimate career and probably life. And I still use it whenever I feel like I need some maintenance and need to strengthen my back. But my disc is probably non-existent in my back, where I had the surgery and the slip disc. But because of this, posterior chain strengthening program, basically, that's really relatively easy and manageable to do. You can do it in 20-30 minutes. It's amazing. So anybody out there, foundation training.
Yeah. And I'll throw one in there too that I think I've mentioned to you, but Becoming a Supple Leopard by Kelly Starrett.
That sounds awesome.
It is amazing. And Kelly Starrett is like, he's just this big, beefy, like 6'4", 240-pound dude who's like doing splits and just ridiculous range of motion. And like you just said, deadlift saved my life the way that you're talking about this book saving your life. Because I thought my ultimate career was over between my back and my knees in 2009 when I was coaching you in high school. And 9 years later, I won the world championship in my division. And like, I literally was like limiting myself to 20 points a tournament. And like, so I was on my own personal pitch count, but getting out there, I think a lot of doctors and, medical professionals like you might, not like you, I mean, medical,
not a professional yet,
eventually aspiring.
Yeah.
Often will, recommend rest. And I don't know about you, but I found almost always, with the exception of like the worst injuries, like movement is so valuable to recovering, more quickly. And, getting in the habit of not saying, oh, I tweaked my back, I better do nothing for a week or 2 weeks.
Active recovery.
Active
recovery.
Yeah, it's good to see. Like, I think the Ultimate community is doing a much better job at that now.
Yeah. And Ultimate, like in its current form, of these Ultimate tournaments, and just what, 7 or 8 games over the course of 2 days. It it is so hard on your body. It is
I
so
know.
hard. And then you got what, 4 or 5 elite tournaments in a summer, and then the marathon. Well, I guess nationals isn't quite the marathon that it used to be, but still, it is so hard on the body, and kind of,
Well, I'll have to say, like, while nationals isn't the marathon it used to be in terms of games,
mhm,
the quality of the games is so much higher. So, like,
that's true.
point for point, I think you're going to put in more effort in 6 games at nationals than you would 8 games at regionals, or
Yes.
any
Yes.
other tournament, because you're like every single point is make or break for the entire tournament
Mhm.
for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how
Yeah.
you get your shoulder dislocated.
That, yeah, trying to fight, because that was in your last pool play game, or that was at the quarter. What game was that?
That was for the pool. Us
That's
versus
right.
Pony, number
Yep.
one, number one in the pool. We had control of that game, and then it was complete. Like, as an O line, we were like, we got this. Like, our D line put in work. Like, all we got to do is hold this, and we're rolling right now. And then it was that point, actually, it was a little, someone left, Tony left it up a little bit on a scuba to me in the end zone, and I couldn't quite come down with it. And then that, on defense, one of the first plays was how I dislocated it, and I was just kind of missed it. And then after that, they ended up scoring that one, and then just, I think they ended up winning by 1. But big game. It was
Yeah.
it
And every
and
point, every possession matters, every throw matters
yeah,
in
and we
most
felt
cases.
like too, like, they ended up playing Rhino, which was, you could argue they were the worst team in the quarters matchup. So we would have had a bye from the pre-quarters. We would have won the pool. So one less game, which would have been really good for us.
Mhm.
And then we would have had probably the best matchup for us as well. And so it's pretty unfortunate. We felt like we had a good path there, and we could have done something, but
Well, yeah, and you guys pulled off an upset, right? Prior to that, which put you in that position to potentially win the pool, right? Or not an upset, but it was a
seeding
game that could have
wise
gone either.
upset. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
What I think it was, we had Temper in our pool, maybe, and who else? I can't even think of it, but yeah,
Yeah.
we were both undefeated, and it was such a good game though too. But man,
Well, I really like your, I think last year, because I was at Nationals last year, I think watching your games was uh, like one of the funnest, because, it's fun to watch all of Ultimate, but like very smooth offenses that are kind of uncomplicated can be really fun. And I felt like you guys had that. Ryan Osgar is a, a
beast.
yeah, like, and the fact that he just kept fearlessly, like, going to get like this big under, turn around and just fire a shot all the way across the field over the top of the vert stack, you
Hmm.
know, and anvert it.
That's his
Like,
bread and butter. Bread and butter.
well, I was just shocked at how many times he would just catch it, and before he'd even like read the field, it looked like he was already throwing it. And
Mhm.
and he was dropping it with a crosswind over the top of the vert stack to the break side, right
Yeah.
in someone's pocket.
A lot of trust and a lot of phenomenal timing by those secondary cuts, because, like,
Yeah,
they know, Vote and some other guys, like, they know what Ryan wants. And so
yeah,
time it up perfectly, and you're going to get that. And very rarely did he miss. And then you got,
yeah,
Cheetah kind of just making the offense run.
yeah.
And then you
Your O
got
line,
Mason throwing some hucks, and,
yeah,
boom, you got a good offense.
no, yeah. I mean, I loved it because it didn't look very challenging, and you guys were facing up against some really amazing defensive teams, and it didn't. Yeah, I don't know how else to classify it. There was like nothing complex about it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was really, it was not complex at all. It's basically just we believed in our one-on-one matchups, and we believed in our timing and our system, and it worked for the most part. But man, yeah, we wanted to go a little bit further for sure.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I think you guys have been on the doorstep of that for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I asked Ben Yacht last week is really what it was like transitioning, going over to New York and playing for Brian. And, you know, I'm curious what your take is on this, because now you've been able to experience everything. Like, you know, I think you've been on some of the Sub-Zero years where you guys, you know, really underperformed, or where you thought you might expect to land. And
pretty much every year we've underperformed in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Since about 2000, when they qualified for Worlds.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, but I think what I'm getting at is that you also got to play with like the best players in the world, you know, the American versions of that. And, you know, like what you hear from about like a Dylan Freechild, for example, is that, you know, like he's just out, like he's always on for Ultimate. And, you know, what Ben said was basically that same thing, is that it seems like the organization is that way across all of Pony or the New York Empire. You know, I'm curious what your, you know, like what, drawing from your experience and the players and the people organizing, and like what do you see as the differences between the teams that, you know, fall a little bit short and the ones that are, you know, the revolvers of the world? Is it talent? Is it coaching? Is it what mindset?
It's coaching. It's coaching 100%. Like when you're looking at club, you're looking at grown men and grown women playing, and it's different. Like it's coaching is different. You can't get people to buy into a culture in the same way you can get high schoolers to buy into a culture. It's so much different.
I learned that the hard way. Yeah.
And so that's tough to deal with. And everyone's, you know, it's Ultimate. We're all professionals or working jobs in something else. So it's not, you know, our lives. And so I think you look at the champions of each division over the last, you know, 10, 15 years, or at least, 10, 15 years. I can't think of a team that didn't have stellar coaching, or at least, you know, really good coaching, and an ability to get grown people to buy in, and to get this, and to create a culture that you know, ends up winning it all. And it's like, I think that's the difference. You know, we have just as much talent as many other teams. I think, you know, we're right there, but like this added burden of stress and logistics and everything that has to be put on captains takes a toll. Yeah. Not only does it take a toll on them, it takes a toll on the team, and you need someone who can take a step back from the field and look at everything and do it in a really good way. And I think Sub-Zero, we've had good coaches, but we really have never had a coach that like takes over the program and like builds it the way it's been more like game managers that we've had, you know, like and it's great. That's definitely very helpful at tournaments.
It's a piece of the puzzle. Yeah,
it's definitely a piece of the puzzle. But you look at some other teams, and like you want to talk about Pony specifically, Brian and BVH, it's like these are masterminds that are constantly thinking about stuff, that are really running the team. And it's like they are the leaders in a way of the team. And you got all the players listening, while Sub-Zero really hasn't had that ever. And it's, and, you know, especially with youth and young guys on the team, like if you get somebody that's the right person, the right coach that can connect with the right team, like you can build a program if you have enough talent, and you can build it and become and it's all about, over the course of a tournament, making these adjustments. It's so tough for a captain to be, in the game, thinking about all his responsibilities, and able to take a step back and make little adjustments, because sometimes all it takes is a little adjustment. And I think that's what Sub-Zero has lacked is just over the course of a tournament, over the course of a season, adjustments that are made by coaches that are coaches that are like in control of the culture and squad. And I think that would really be the difference, to be honest.
Yeah. Some continuity would help too, like year to year absolutely. Between talent and leadership. I hear what you're saying. So who's the best coach in the game right now?
Well, I played for BVH at juniors in 2010, and I mean, right now, and what he's done with Pony, and I mean, obviously he's got a lot of talent to work with. So, but he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal. Brian Jones is phenomenal. Daryl Stanley is. I had a chance.
I like that guy a lot.
He is just a
hype machine, right?
What? Yeah, he's just playing around. Just is always thinking. Like he's got a journal. I asked him about it at AUDL Championship week. He's got like a journal of every game or every tournament. It's like he's got plan A, plan B, plan C, and like all these things and notes, like a full database of players and like what their strength and weaknesses. And so it's like, it's rare. I mean, it's unless you're getting, like, obviously it makes sense in other professional sports that they're getting paid millions to do this and like it's their life. But in Ultimate, like, it takes special people to be able to put in the effort and have the time outside of their life to do this and not be a player, and be a coach and like put in that effort.
And I'll also say it's greenfield right now because like they're literally just like paving the way. There's a book out there on like Championship Ultimate, but it might as well have been written on like, actual pieces of rock because it's so like outdated, right? Like what's happening now is
continuing evolve.
They're like creating what's happening. So, they don't have anything to draw from. They just have to like guess and test and figure things out. And, I'll say the two coaches that one that I really admire from afar is Matty Sang.
Yes.
And the reason I love Matty is because I know that he is far more philosophical first, and then like skills instruction second. And, when you're a team like Fury and that talent is coming to you from around the world, most of those players don't really need to be taught. They just need to be reminded of like how to do their job well. And then they need a philosophy to believe in. And, I feel that way. And who knows, maybe Tina Booth is watching right now, but I feel that way about Tina Booth too, because like I've not gotten to, I will say I've been able to see Tina manage a game from a little bit of a distance, and it doesn't seem like she's ever offering any instruction. It's just pure, discussion about like getting all of the philosophical things right, and then to have the talent that are just going to go out in there to like execute it. Well, shifting gears a little bit, should we talk some Goaltimate?
I thought you'd never ask.
Well, so we got to play Goaltimate together. Should I pull it up on the Instagram? Like, this is one of my favorite Ultimate photos or Frisbee photos that I've ever.
This is one of my favorite tournaments. Ultimate, like.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mean, this was apart from times at Worlds, I have to say, like, this tournament, and you were instrumental in obviously helping bring in Dalton and the whole like
squad.
God, look at it. Ben Lewis.
We were clearly drinking a lot of beer and training really hard before this.
This is your number one seeded Minnesota Windshield.
Yeah.
Pro Goaltimate team.
Yeah. took out the number 1 overall, Atlanta.
Yeah. And then we dropped it to some other Austin squad.
Dallas team, yeah. Well,
Or,
that's
right.
that's a whole other story of,
Yeah. So if you're like me, you love Goaltimate for like the creativity and like it's a chance to play Frisbee without that like enormous burden of like every single error costing you everything.
Yes. And as a shooter, that's great.
Isn't it
like,
great?
Okay, I missed on this one. Then they start to build up, and then you okay, I gotta stop turning it over. But you can always get it back. You can always prove yourself on defense and get it back. And
yeah, and I love the like opportunity to take those like shots where it's like a 6-inch by like 14-inch window, right?
Yeah.
Where you're just gonna rifle it into that little small window and hope it works out. Where you if you ever do that in Ultimate, you're just taking too high of a risk. But
or if you ever did that like 5 times in a row in Ultimate, you wouldn't be playing the rest of the tournament.
But if you did it 5 times in a row in Goaltimate and it works twice, those 2 points they're worth so much more than those 3 turnovers.
Absolutely. It's just fun. It's fluid. It's a good time, especially that atmosphere too, because it was elite and competitive, but it was also just like a fun, like, we're getting together, we're going to drink, we're going to have fun.
That's the other, I'm really hoping that passion like remains, because I think what we saw there was we had a bunch of like tremendously accomplished players all in one spot playing a version of Frisbee that wasn't like win at all costs, but we still had the level of the quality, right? The talent density was there and the quality of the game was very, very high. It's just that it wasn't a bunch of like raging maniacs arguing over foul calls. Right?
Yeah. Most of us weren't.
Do you want to call anybody out?
No. There's no one.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. So, there's a big Goaltimate scene in Madison. Have you ever tried to make the commute?
No,
You got your eyes on the prize, the nursing prize.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Wisconsin's temporary, I'm trying to interact as little as possible with all the.
Let's talk. I'm just kidding. No, I know. Well, let's talk about that because.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know. But.
No, I played some mini before COVID hit. I was starting to play mini and some. I don't think we played Goalty, but with some local Milwaukee guys, and it was good. And I was like looking forward to it and just playing with new people. But no, I'm as far as playing elite, I don't plan on playing. I didn't plan on playing club anyways this summer, so it's perfect.
Oh wow.
And then I'm playing Windchill. Well, this year it's over, but I'm on for another year at least. And then we'll see where my career takes me. And, I like Milwaukee though. Milwaukee's fine. It's just, some people are just idiots here. They're just idiots.
And it's
like
not
to drink a lot of beer. They, it's right now, there's a lot of certain supporters of a certain political party
it's very different in Wisconsin than Minnesota, isn't it?
Although Milwaukee still is pretty progressive, I think, overall. But.
Well, yeah, I mean, Wisconsin's if you exclude Milwaukee and Madison, it's like incredibly red state. I mean, Minnesota is to a degree, but Minneapolis, St. Paul is so much bigger than either of those towns.
Yeah.
Then you throw in Rochester, Mankato, Duluth, and St. Cloud. It helps. But let's talk about one thing that I told you might be a little controversial.
Oh, yeah. And I told you not to tell me what it was, so it can be.
So I've seen you address it in writing, but not ever like in any one of these interviews. But you made a deal with the Madison folks a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you've talked about it, so it's not all that controversial. But as I understood it, you lured a handful of Madison club players over to play for Sub-Zero with the
Yes.
agreement that the next season you would go over and play Madison Club.
Yeah. No.
So what happened?
Well, it wasn't. It was definitely. I'll take responsibility and say I did say that, but it wasn't like so concrete in writing. And honestly, like I would have played probably the Radicals if like they didn't have like a complete collapse of their whole team, and like
Yeah.
I was like, no, our team, I play, I didn't have any expectations for that season. I know we had a bunch of new Canadian guys, and it turned out to be so much fun. And then I saw like just them getting older, and like I don't know, it just was like, if it was like for sure they were as dominant as ever, and I had a good shot to like compete for a championship and win a championship, I would have probably played. But like it was like, no, I think we have a better shot moving forward, especially if we get guys like Raider or Matsuka. And then and so it was like, no, I'm gonna stick with it. Plus, okay, it wasn't like, it's not like they were sacrificing a ton to come play. I mean, they had a drive, but they wanted to play elite. The whole elite club in Madison and Wisconsin was like in shambles. Like, I don't know. You'd have to ask them what happened with that, but very split. A lot of controversy within that community. So they didn't have there was a lot of guys that wanted to play at an elite level in club. And so, and I think that they were happy they played Sub-Zero. And
it speaks volumes to what ended up happening that following season, given that Madison Club folded, right?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So, I mean, I think do I feel bad about not holding up my end? No, not really.
Do they hold it against you?
It was, no, not really. It wasn't like, for sure. It was like in my early recruiting of it. And then it kind of just, we didn't talk about it a ton. We just talked about the logistics of them actually playing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was still, up in the air. It was still, they remembered that I said that, but KB, Kevin Brown will, probably give me the most shit, but it is what it is. Nothing was in writing. There was no contract. Also, Ben Feldman got me right after the season. Like, let's go out to lunch. Let's work out your contract. Boom. Let's make it happen. I was like, okay, let's just do it. And that was before any radical pitch or anything. So, and I also wanted to be able to come back home and this is going to sound bad, but I also wanted to not have to go to weekday practices and drive an hour, because I know that there's people in Milwaukee that play for the Radicals. So it's like, okay, I have no excuse not to hop in a car with them and go to practice, but I don't really want to practice during the week. I'm busy and I'm at a point in my career, yeah, I'll put in work. I'll stay in good shape, but I don't want to have a ton of practice.
We've got
all you young players out there, go to practice.
You should absolutely go to practice.
It's important.
Reps is the most important thing. What do you, out of curiosity, if you were to guess, how many times do you think you've thrown? How many actual throws do you think you have in your life?
I have no clue.
Do you think it's more than 1 million?
I would have to sit down and actually calculate it would probably be more. I'd have to hone in on summer specifically. So okay, how many throws on average a day in each summer over the last 15 years? Because I went to summer camp where we threw all the time, and so man, I would, just a rough guess, I would imagine it's around somewhere between 500,000 and 1 million. I would imagine.
Yeah. I did a little guess on myself because I heard Paco, who is, he's a popular ultimate player in the Twin Cities here, who's known for his pulls. He said kind of casually one time, he's like, "Well, how do you get good at throwing?" Somebody asked him, and he's like, "Well, you throw 250,000 times like I have." And I was like, "You have to have thrown more than 250,000." And I sat down and given coaching, throughout the winter and then playing in the summer, I put my number of throws, like this was 3-4 years ago, somewhere between 750,000 and a million. So I would suspect you're probably even north of that, even though
Yeah,
I
I
started
mean,
before you,
that's such a wild thing to like think about, but
isn't it? Have
I
you
should
done
have started.
anything?
Yeah, I should have started counting
No, you could start right now.
back
You
as a fourth grader, just one.
Yeah. Well, now that you say fourth grade, I think we probably started playing Ultimate around the same time then, because I started in 99 and you were in fourth grade probably in like 2002, right?
Well, I
2003?
was 7 in 99. That was probably the year before
Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
I went to camp, and then that's when it started at Herzl. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I was probably 8. Yeah, we probably
Yeah.
started at the same time. Look at us.
So you're like known for throwing. Do you ever think about like, because I'm sure people ask you all the time, like, how do you get good at throwing? And we had a very interesting exchange a couple of years ago. You might remember you, me, and I'll leave the other person unnamed. But where that person was kind of struggling with their flicks. Do you remember we were at Como and 280? It was after the U of M alumni game because we both went to the U of M,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just the three of us, and he was kind of struggling with his flick, and I walked up to him and I was like, "This is the only thing you're doing wrong. If you do that, it'll be better." And he instantly was a little
Mm-hmm.
bit better with it. um and I remember because I walked up and I was like, watch Josh do it. His release point is like so far behind his body, or it's like never way out in front of his body.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you just intrinsically learned over the years, or when people ask you, do you have advice, or do you just like throw a lot until you get good at it?
Yeah, I mean, it's so I know there's a lot of players that like put out videos and tutorials of like, okay, this is how you
Yeah.
do it. And I think that's good. I think it's good. But I think throwing a frisbee, specifically a flick, is so unique. You can do it and it's just like batting a batting stance. Like there are many ways you
Yeah.
can have many different batting stances that still produce really good outcomes. And I think it's the
Yeah.
same way with throwing the flick, depending on how big your hand is, depending on grip strength, depending on your body mechanics, depending on your hips, depending on like all these things. And I think there is
Elbow mobility. Yeah.
elbow mobility. Yeah, I think there is a large part of throwing a flick specifically. There is a natural ability that like you look at guys like Harper, you look at guys, that
Oh
like
yeah.
that there are just
Mike
guys.
Mike
Harper doesn't
Peterson.
think like super critically about his flick. He just plays and throws, and that's just a natural ability. Um, uh, but so like when someone says like, okay, how do I throw a flick? How do I throw a good flick? It's like I can't tell you that. I throw a flick differently based on my body, but I can look at how you throw. I can like throw with you and say, okay,
Yeah.
these are some things that I think could work. Um,
Yeah.
and help you just like you did in that example. But when it comes down to it, I think you got to work with what you got because I think everyone has a limited amount of potential, especially for throwing. And so you just got to work with what you got and try to make the most and do what feels the best. But there are definitely bad habits that
I
feel
was
good
just gonna say
that are
that. Yeah.
that are not going to, that are like, I was working with Brandon Mattis. We were throwing earlier in the year, and there was just like a few things that's like, okay, if you
Yeah.
just do this and fix this, it will make it better, and it does. And but like with that said, is he ever going to be throwing 80-yard bombs on a rope? Probably not. Like it, I think there's a lot of natural ability, like natural intrinsic. No, not saying Mattis, you don't have a lot of natural ability to throw a flick, but I think he it'd be fair to say that he would say the same thing, that like I don't know, it doesn't click as easily as with other people. Like with Harper, I think Harper is a great example of it. It just clicks. It just makes sense. He's just throwing. That's what it is. and his throwing, is unique. It's
Yeah.
different from Johnny Bansfield. It's different from
Oh
Georgia
yeah.
Bosher. It's like it's, so
Yeah.
I think everyone has a limit of what they can do, but there are definitely some things that they can tweak that.
Yeah. Well, loyal lunatic Brandon Mattis, who you already mentioned here,
Is he
had
commenting?
mentioned he said Josh is simultaneously the best and worst throwing teacher.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's fair to say, because it's
Yeah,
frustrating for me, because there's some things that like I can't explain. It's just intrinsic.
totally.
This is just me throwing, and like I have to actually really think about like, what
Yeah.
how do I explain this, if I even can, to
Yeah.
someone? And
I I
I struggle
very
with that.
Yeah, I very vividly remember watching Brandon Malachek try to teach somebody how to throw a forehand, because he was kind of the gold standard. It was like him and Brody, late 2000s, early 2010s, that were kind of the gold standard for forehand,
Hmm.
bombs.
Yeah.
And, he like Brandon's advice was always like, oh, you need to make sure you're shifting your weight and moving your hips this way. And it was like, for somebody who doesn't know what they're throwing, they don't even know how to interpret that. But,
Exactly.
it can be very hard for somebody who's a good thrower who doesn't have the experience teaching somebody that. But over time, like you see the string of words that you throw together that actually, resonate with people.
Hmm.
Like the anecdote I just shared, like sometimes you can just identify the big error they're making. And if one error at a time, you can kind of strip those away and then let everything else fill in, that, like you said, pick that personalized batting stance or,
Yeah. Yeah.
thing like that. But if you can strip away like some of the biggest obvious one I always tell people is like, if your release point is too far in front of you, you're losing a ton of power and it'll
Yeah.
flutter.
Yeah.
And, but it can be very hard when you're that close to it. And it just is like, because you learned how to throw now 12 years ago, like, well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's been a long time since you've been at that same level that you're trying to teach somebody something.
Yeah, it definitely can be tough, because there really
Yeah.
isn't. It's not like, I think basketball, shooting a shot. That, I mean, there are different forms for sure, but it's pretty standard of
Yeah.
like, okay, what do you need to do? It's pretty well determined. Okay, but like frisbee, it is so, like, there are so many amazing elite throwers that throw so differently. Um, but you could probably, if you studied it, like identify some uh, staples of each one that's
Yeah.
happening. It shows why you can throw well. But yeah, it's
Should
tough.
it, should we call out to Brody right now? It'll be like me, you, Brody, and Harper all get on a Hot Lou happy hour and discuss how to throw their proper forehand flick.
That would be very enjoyable. That would be awesome.
All right, Harper, Brody, if
Harper
you're
would be
listening.
down. Harper's down.
Oh, totally.
We got to get Brody. Brody's big time now, though. I don't know if he'd want to hang.
Huh? I mean, he's got sponsors he needs to fill up. And I told you I would tell you the funny story with him.
Oh yes.
That so as he was coming up, like the Ultimate page that this is streaming on, that has 135,000 people on or something. Not that all of them are watching right now, but the he it was really funny. He straight, like, I put together some content, I don't know, it was probably 10 years ago on that page, and it kind of went a little bit viral, and he straight up just stole it. So, and he took the actual copy, he took every single word of it and just published it on his thing. And I called him out on it on his page. I was like, wow, this looks a lot like this post, and just linked it. So it wasn't even like mean. It was just like,
Yeah.
hey, it was playful little banter. And he started just inundating my inbox with just the most vile comments about it. He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I was like, dude, like,
We need
just,
Brody. If you're out there listening, we need to get you on. We need an explanation. We need reconciliation here.
yeah. Well, the best part about this is the follow-up is, I thought it was funny because I was like, look, dude, all you had to do is just like give a hat tip or just change it enough that it wasn't like a complete ripoff. And
Yeah.
he just didn't see it that way. So he put something together that was original material, like 6, 7, 8 weeks later. So I just completely ripped it off and published it without any credit on the Ultimate page. And he lost his shit.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
I was like, do you not understand what just happened here? So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
maybe we can squash some beef live on Hot League
Yeah,
Happy Hour.
no, I would love that. I would love that. And you know what? I think he misses the Ultimate community. You know.
Yeah, and the last time he really played with any seriousness was against the Wind Chill.
Yes. The Wind Chill was his downfall.
Yeah. It was like straight out of one of those like video game edits from YouTube where somebody like takes a shot in their hamstring and like falls down when he went down in that game. But well, I've taken up a ton of your time. How are you doing on time? You got time for a couple more questions?
I got time for a couple more. I need to get back to doing some homework relatively soon, but
Yeah. All right, and I've got another Zoom in 8 minutes here. So
okay.
We're getting some good heckles here. Brody. Yeah, Brody Smith 21 is on my next Zoom meeting on my calendar. No, we got some really nice heckles coming in from Dan Pokey Hunt as well.
Oh yes.
Yeah, sure. I should have had him on the show. Maybe he'll come on, the three of us and Brody.
Oh man. Yeah. And Bo.
Yeah.
He knows Bo.
Yeah, they were roommates in college. So what was your favorite team of all time to play on? Do you have one?
That's tough to say. Honestly, this last Wind Chill season was really, really enjoyable. The Canadian guys were just so much fun. Low expectations. It was just a really fun, competitive team.
Yeah. I got to imagine Bevon too. Because you guys got like on the same page. Like there was something clicked for you guys this year, right? That was not there last year, right?
Just really good guys too. Just fun. It's just really fun, really enjoyable. Honestly, yeah. I mean, that was a really fun team, and I don't know. There's been a lot. Like the Worlds obviously have, the Worlds teams are really fun because it's this whole experience of going to a training camp with a bunch of people, random people from around the country, some of the best players, and then playing 2 weeks or a week of training camp, and then going to a different country and playing together. So that's definitely like a very unique, fun experience in itself. And then some college, and obviously college is up there, but that's tough to say. Every season is different. It's I can't hone in on one specifically.
Yeah. Hey, I have to go back for a second because I forgot to mention something. But now that Madison Club is gone out of the Central region, do you know in the men's division, the second oldest team, because now Sub-Zero is the oldest team. And I think they were even before the Madison Club folding. But the second oldest team in the men's division in the Central Division, North Central.
Is it Dingwop?
It's Dingwop.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Dingwop saved your life.
Dingwop did save my life. I'm an OG dinger from 2005. Yeah. Still working on that 3-year plan to get to nationals. I believe in
It'll happen eventually.
They'll make it.
Just got to get the right.
Look, if UMD can make it to nationals without qualifying for regionals, Dingwop can make it. Anything could happen. Yeah. Well, I want to wrap it up with 2 things. One, do you think that this year off is going to help or hurt you?
I think it's going to help me because it's just like, I know a lot of people are struggling with just the mental aspect of this. And like, I definitely am, like just living alone in a different city. And like, it really puts in perspective how important Ultimate has been in my life for the last decade. Like how much, like how much of a role it plays. Like I knew it played a huge role. Like, I mean, obviously it was spending, almost 10 hours a week probably with a team during the summer, and then traveling and stuff. But like without having that routine, without having that connection, the human connection with your teammates, it's like wow, it is a piece of your heart and your life and your soul that's missing. And so it really, I think it's good physically for my body to like just have a little bit of a break, which I already had planned for club. But like mentally, it's like, oh my God, like, I mean, we'll see what happens in 2021, but when the season happens again, whenever that is, it's definitely, I'm not going to take things for granted as much, and just the opportunity to play a sport that you love with people that you love. And it's just, there's nothing like it. And it's like, it clearly has had such an impact on my sanity because I'm going insane right now.
I feel you, man. That's
And
why I'm doing this show.
And just the routine. It's like my body and my mind was so used to this same routine that I had for 10 years of like, the weekends are this is this. Like, it kind of made sense of life. And now without it, like, obviously I have a lot of routine and connection and commitment that I have to do with nursing school, but like, it really, it's missing. It's a huge part of my life that's missing. And it has made me want to, definitely continue for as long as I can, because it's awesome.
Yeah. And what I'm finding is that there isn't a substitute.
There isn't.
You can't substitute that feeling of like dropping that 65-yard bomb in someone's pocket, or, racing down that disc that when it's up, you're pretty sure you're going to get to it, but you don't really know until you have to like lay your body out on the line and hit the ground really hard that you would never do under normal circumstances, right? Like throw your body against whatever. And there's competition. That's what I mean. Like, like you hit the water hard and you took a little bit of an L for it, but that like exhilaration that came from that jump doesn't compare to like beating a team that you didn't think that you could beat, or that you spent 3 months planning on trying to beat, right? There's just like no healthy
I think it just goes to show how important like continually to do stuff that like harness your competitive nature, especially if you're competitive, like need to harness it. Otherwise there's gonna be other parts of your life that are gonna take a hit, and like but with that said, I also like just with the camping trip, like I've kind of realized also on the flip side of that, like, hey, like I can be able to do other things in a summer if I had the time to do it.
Yeah.
Which like there's some awesome things that with like camping and and hiking and like all these things. And I'm like, oh, okay, like maybe I can do this this is kind of nice. Like I'd like to like explore different hobbies as well. So I think it's, I'm still at a point in my ultimate career where I'm not finished yet. I've still got a ways to go, I think. So I'm not really thinking that, but it was like a shocker. It was like, whoa, like without taking up 6 or 7 hours of practice each weekend, like I have so much time for activities.
Well, and so much room, right?
Like karate in the garage,
Well, I'm sure there are people like from the Southern United States, like watching this right now thinking like, well, that's what winter's for. We don't have that luxury in Wisconsin or Minnesota. Yeah. Well, I have a million more questions, so I'd like to have you on the show another time, and potentially get other people
with
on
Brody,
it.
With Brody and Harper next time.
Brody, Harper, Pokey,
and Zuck. Zuck's watching.
Yeah, he's definitely what. Like all I get is a bunch of angry emojis in the chat here, so that's got to be him. Yeah. So the last thing I want to mention is there's some merch with your name all over it. Do you have any of it to show the audience here?
I do. This is actually a limited edition. I gave away my shirt to a good friend of mine.
Oh, wow.
Because it's fun to know that there's a shirt with your face on it and it's a fun design, but I'm not that kind of person that would wear my face on myself around.
Yeah.
So I have this sweatshirt.
That's pretty dope. I mean, it's got to feel so good, dude, right?
It's fun. It's fun. It was just a fun idea. It's a fun local company that you should check them out. Like they're pick and shovel. So this is the back too. And pick and shovel gear. They make some amazing, awesome gear for like all sports and like just Minnesota stuff too. Like just, or, some, other Minnesota.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, you betcha.
And hot dish.
Yeah. So they make some really fun stuff, and it was cool to be able to work with them and like have a little deal, and hopefully we can continue to work with them. But yeah, they made a shirt for me, and made a shirt for the wind chill, and they made a shirt for Money Mattis. And it was pretty
They're all
fun.
so good too. The creative on them is so awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it's fun.
When I mean, we'll wrap up here, but when the wind chill had their first ever playoff game in 2016 in Pittsburgh, they had replays showing up on the big screen up there. And, it was, and I got to play, I shouldn't say I had to play a couple of points in that game through some bizarre set of circumstances that season.
We'll save that for the next.
Yeah. Maybe another Axeman into this, I would reveal some secrets that the public doesn't know about. But the halftime interview of getting to like see myself on this like big screen, and I'm like 17 years or something into my Ultimate career, thinking to myself like, this is what us in the 2000s were like dreaming of, that someday, one day it would be on a real field and it would be streaming in real places and there would be some legitimacy. And now, you have the privilege of being in the midst of it as it's happening. And, rewind to you being a junior on one of the best high school teams ever and kind of being a role player. You were obviously great, but there were, 12 great players on that team. I'm sure you couldn't have even imagined that 11 years later, there'd be merchandise with your face and your Instagram handle. On the shirt, right? And you're probably signing autographs after games.
Yeah. That's been, I think a lot of people take for granted the opportunity, like, and right now with the PUL, hopefully the PUL continues to be successful and like that opportunity, but like AUDL, PUL, some other places, some other leagues around the world, like the opportunity to just play for free. I mean, some players, some teams get more money or whatever, but like just being able to travel and play the sport you love for free is so awesome. And then all this other stuff is fun and it's cool as it develops and evolves. But like, I think that's the coolest part of these leagues is that you like 10 years ago, you never would have thought that you'd be like, especially when you're still for club, through USA Ultimate, like you're dishing out, at least $2,000 a year every summer to play. So it's really cool to be a part of something where you get to play a sport you love, the thing you love with the people you love for free. And get free Surly.
Yeah. And, we're probably, the light at the end of the tunnel for actually earning a living playing this game as a player is like, there's a
few people that can, that can get there, I think, and are getting there. And
exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the future, especially with the canceled season, this is definitely a fork in the road of Ultimate future. It's like, who knows what it's going to look like in 10 years and how it develops, how it evolves. And
you just triggered me to say 10 more things, but I'm going to save it for the next show because you got to study. I've got my Zoom call with Zuck and Brody Smith.
Yes.
That I'm 3 minutes late for, but those fuck those guys. They can wait for hotlou.
Yeah. Brody's always late anyways, you know.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man, for hopping on Hot Lou Happy Hour. It was fun. We
It was
kept
good.
all of our clothes.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say we kept all of our clothes on this time, but
Yes, and I controlled how many times I touched my mustache. I was gonna say, like, is there
I
a
know I'm
rule
doing
on
that
how
too.
many times I can touch it? And I
Yeah.
really, showed a lot of self-control. And so
I've got the COVID cut.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I was a little overdue. So
Yeah, that's nice.
yeah, we'll be old men with some grays in our beards together and shaved heads. Yeah, although your dad has a beautiful head of hair.
Yeah.
I have a feeling you will too for a lot
Yeah,
longer than I do.
I don't think I'm gonna be going bald.
I don't think so either.
But I'm really just focusing on the stash right now, and it's going pretty well. And so,
It looks good, man.
you should definitely go with the bald with the beard. The bald beard
Yeah.
is
Well, the Native American blood doesn't let any hair really grow right here.
well, you can always throw some like Rogaine on there, and get it going.
Should I do that as a daily happy hour?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, see what happens. Okay, well, we'll take that suggestion to the bank. Maybe pass it on to fellow Native American Brandon Mattis, who might be tuning into the show.
Absolutely.
Grow out our facial hair.
Well, thanks for having me. This was awesome.
Man. We'll do it again and even get more lively next time. Looking forward to it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks to all the lunatics for tuning in to today's Hot Lou Happy Hour.